Hi, my name's Hannah. I'm with the Lethbridge Transparency Council, and I'm here interviewing Nick Paladino, and he is a city council candidate for the Lethbridge municipal election. So welcome, Nick. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Awesome. So we're going to get started right away here. The first question that I have for you is, what do you think needs improvement in the processes of city council and administration, and how would you make these improvements?
Well, never been on council before, so it's kind of hard to know what needs attention at this stage of the game. I know there's a lot of people that feel administration is running the show there and not council. However, like I said, hopefully I get elected and we can dig into this a little bit deeper. But yeah, there's going to be some changes, but we just don't know.
Absolutely. Of course, new council will be new processes and new changes for sure. So what recommendations would you make to engage more citizens in the city's municipal development plan and process?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of a moot point now. It's been done. It's a bylaw. It's passed 3 readings. As you know, the municipal development plan is a bylaw, so it has to go 2 readings, public hearing, final reading, 3rd reading is final reading, and they did, I think, everything you have to do according to the Municipal Government Act: open houses or public notices, put together stakeholders and advertise it heavily. And I think they did a pretty good job. And I think during COVID, I think it was probably pretty tough on staff working at home and some working in the office. So I think they deserve credit for that.
Yeah, and it's certainly a very large document, so I can't imagine what it must have been like to coordinate that when staff is kind of all over the place and dealing with their own personal issues for sure. So moving on to our community questions, what do you think the top 3 issues are in the community, and what would you do to address these issues?
Well, I think it's pretty clear Lethbridge is in trouble with the crime issue. That's the first one. I'll go through the 3: crime, homelessness, and Chinook Trail, the 3rd river crossing. But as far as crime, I think we need to spend more money on the police department, frankly. I know they've cut it by $1 million, and I think that should be reinstated. Or better policing, maybe allocating staff to specifically for crime. As far as homelessness, so money needs to go towards shelters and affordable housing in some form or another, whether it's assisting private developers or the province wants to come in and help. But the city needs to make it easy to happen. Chinook Trail, 3rd river crossing. I think we need to start the engineering on that right away. I think we need to get that process moving so we can get a firm figure as to what it would cost. Everything from 160 to 260 million. So somewhere in there, we need to build a bridge, I think. I think that's it for there.
Yeah, it's funny how you start to see trends in some of these answers between all these candidates. What would you want the city to do to create a good environment for business in Lethbridge?
I think they're on the right track with the airport. I think you need to make the airport accessible and get more traffic in there. Affordable industrial and commercial land would be what I'd be looking for if I was a developer, and reasonable taxes. I don't think anybody complains about paying taxes. They got to be reasonable.
Yeah, it's kind of a reality now, and everything that we do, we pay some sort of tax. So in the most recent MDP process, what decisions did you agree with, and what decisions did you disagree with, and why?
Yeah, see, here's where I got to come clean. I honestly never involved myself with that process, other than keeping up to date in what was in the Lethbridge Herald. And I know they were going through a process. I had things happening at that time, again with COVID and stuff. All of that stuff was done. So I trusted the planners and the engineers at the city, that I would think that they did a good job of bringing it to council. And my next job is to read a 250-page document.
It is. It reads like a dictionary, uh, or more like an encyclopedia. It's got some fun historical tidbits in there. Um, so my last question in this section is how would you prioritize transportation in the future for Lethbridge? So currently we prioritize pedestrians, bicycles, transit, and then commercial and multi-occupancy vehicles. And the last thing we prioritize is single occupancy vehicles, cars, trucks, etc. So how would you prioritize transit in Lethbridge? What initiatives and things would you be focusing on?
Um, Frankly, they did a pretty good job. I mean, this is just good planning. The order in which they have pedestrian, bicycle, transit, commercial is standard good planning for future growth. Nobody can argue with that too much, I don't think. Yeah, I would leave the order as it is.
Do you have any comments or things in terms of transit? So I know you mentioned the third bridge. Is that something that you want to prioritize in your time in council?
I do. I think it needs to be completed to keep the circulation of that side of the river connected to the east side of the river. Yeah, I think that's priority. But you know, if it is 260 million over, priority is to make sure the city's not paying too much of that bill.
Yeah, absolutely. So moving on to our last set of questions here, dealing with finances. Where do you think the city should spend more money?
To me, it's a no-brainer. I think the police department needs more funding. I mean, Lethbridge has a serious crime problem. And it all boils down to opiates, opioids, and associated with things that are associated with that. Yeah, so I would say spend money on policing more.
And absolutely. And where do you think we should spend less money?
I kind of focused in on that compensation disclosure list, and well, it baffles me how many positions there are, and maybe I'm naive. Maybe a city of 100,000 needs all those positions, and I'm not saying cut positions. I'm just suggesting that maybe a freeze could happen on some of those salaries, especially at the top end of that scale. And for some directors, like I say, I don't think it needs to be cut. It just needs to be frozen.
What criteria do you recommend the city examine prior to approving capital projects?
Well, you need to do a cost benefit analysis. You need to look at the cost of a project, who benefits from it, who doesn't benefit from it, is there a need, and how much is it going to cost the taxpayer. So that's the first thing I would do for any capital project.
Yeah, it's certainly the first thing that most businesses do when they look at capital projects. So that's a very fair point. And the last question I have for you here is looking at our capital improvement program plan for the next 4 years, what expenses are you most in favor of and what expenses would you not support?
Again, I'm a big fan of the airport and any improvements out at the airport. So I say carry on with that initiative. I know they've put some money into it already and they're putting more money into it. The Lethbridge Exhibition and Agri-Food Trade Hub, another no-brainer to me. If you're going to attract businesses and industry to Lethbridge, those are the two big things, the airport and somewhere to have conferences and conventions. And if we're going to be the agri-food trade hub of Southern Alberta, I think Lethbridge is this hub. Where would I cut? I think the Performing Arts Center, I don't want to say cut it, but I just say put it on the back burner, put the brakes on that a little bit. I don't think it's going to happen in this next term. I think it's a 5 or 10 year project down the road. And I don't know about the electric bus initiative. That seemed to have I don't know too much about it, but it seemed to have a pretty expensive component to it. So I don't know if we need to get rid of the gas fuel buses yet. So maybe cut the size of those buses down a little bit. That's about it there.
Yeah, it's certainly something that's been recommended by a few candidates that I've talked to. So it's interesting to see all of the threads being pulled from one candidate to another. So that's really good. So thank you, Nick, for doing this interview. Is there anything else that you'd like to add and share how people can get in touch with you?
Yeah, you can get in touch with me at my website, nickpaladino.com. I'd say please go out and vote on October 18th.
Absolutely. Yes. Advanced voting starts October 1st. So if you are watching this, you can vote every weekend up until the 18th. Please use your chance to vote.
Only one day on that weekend, but not every weekend.
Yes. Yes. So look, City of Lethbridge has all that information for you. Please go out and vote. Thank you so much for doing this interview, Nick. I really appreciate it.